Greetings, fencers. So if you don't have a big club and you're wondering what to get, I will start sharing my experiences and compare equipment. There's not a lot of reviews for some of the stuff out there, and I've bought some useless things because of it. These won't include specifications, but just comparison and our experience. So the first mask we'll review is PBT. So they're actually my favorite feeling mask. No mask that I've had has felt as close to my head as this one. This really gives the feeling that it's just my head moving around. It's not something big, clunky on my mask. It's light, and it just conforms to my face. It's a pillow on my face. Fully encloses the chin. It doesn't wobble side to side at all on my head, and just nicely fits. Now, it also has the absolute most problems out of any of the masks that we've had. So I wear a medium, and the mediums for the 350N feel really, really nice. We also have one of the 1600N mediums, and it did not feel nice. It still wobbled. Maybe they marked it wrong and sent me a medium that was actually a large or something, but it was still tight on places, but loose at others. And when we're talking about the Newton rating, it's just talking about the bib. So sometimes websites get this wrong, and they talk about, oh, it's a 1600N mesh. No, this will be in multiple thousands. It's just talking about the bib. The 1600N mask has no difference. It's probably just some material in it that's slightly stronger, but the impact is the same. The impact is unchanged. You can see they have slightly different style for the inside, a little bit more padding, different back of the head. We also have an extra large PBT. It is quite big, definitely big on me, but it's actually tighter than the large for absolute force. If you have a larger head, you just might not actually be able to use PBT, because this extra large is like a lot of companies' large, so there's nothing bigger than, unless they have a double XL. But the biggest problem comes with the mesh. We're in Canada. We do have minus 40 winters at night. That might have something to do with this, but every single mask that we've had gets dented almost every hit. So every mask, if it gets hit, whether it's synthetic or steel, it will show exactly where it got hit. And this is actually the mask that I used in both my tournaments. I liked it because it fit to my face, moved with my head, but huge dent in it. I wasn't wearing it at the time. This was a synthetic longsword. It was hit too hard at the person. I have it on video. Looking back after, it wasn't some big swinging hit. It was a very tight mullinet, but it was definitely too hard. It probably hit the person actually in the side of the head. And it's just, in general, PBT masks are not safe enough for HEMA. This is just really not okay. We have 5 of these masks. All of them get dented every hit. So it's really something. Until they change the mesh, I can't recommend PBT masks. They just, although they have really good feel, they're just not safe enough for HEMA for what we're doing. PBT masks are also almost twice as much as an absolute force mask. Absolute force is currently the mask that I'm always using, and that most of the people here use. Some negatives is that in general, it is a loose fit. It wobbles side to side, sometimes wobbles up and down. Some people, they talk about how they get hit and then the mask hits them again, and so they're always getting, it feels like you get hit twice. In general, not super great feeling. As well, the padding on the inside is very minimal. It's pretty light. It's not very great. It does not conform to your face, and that's why it's so loose. It's just kind of outlining the mask, and your head, just sits in there, and you just strap it down tight. But the reason why these masks are still what we primarily use is, one, they are really cheap. They're 60 to 65 US for this version, and it is, for the money, the best mask you can get, because they are pretty much indestructible. The mesh has never been dented on any one of our 6 absolute force masks, 6 or 7 that we've had, and I don't see them ever denting. Occasionally the paint is taken off, but it's not actually affecting the steel underneath at all. Whereas the PBT ones, the steel is actually getting scraped, it's not just paint coming off. They do have a version where the liner can come out, it's just the bottom half, you just pull it out, you can wash it. This one did actually at some point, I guess, take a hard hit, and it is dented in slightly, but you don't notice the feel at all. And so for the price, these are really good masks. Really durable, dependable. They'll always fit you, but they're never going to be a nice full circumference fit around your face. And the fit, we have pretty much everyone consistently says it feels too loose. I think only one person doesn't. From people wearing larges and mediums, it's always the same, it's just slightly wobbles. So I think they could do improvement on the padding, make it actually a nice circumference, get the chin padded underneath. The last mask that we use is Castille. So we've had a small, medium, and large. I've actually been able to fit my head into all 3 of them. The small was, my head was sticking out the back somewhat, but they actually did all fit me. So I was hoping the Castille mask was going to replace my absolute force. I was hoping it would feel more like when I was wearing the PBT, and that it would be my new standard mask. But it didn't quite live up to that. So the feel is great. It is very thick padding, even thicker than the PBT, and it conforms to your face nicely. Feels like you're wearing nothing, you're just nice pillow around your face, cups the chin, everything's intact, feels super safe. Feels like you can take any hits, you don't get that double hit. One of the people here, they use absolute force just when training so they can talk easily, but when they're actually sparring, they prefer to wear one of these. The bib is really strong. You can actually, there's a noticeable amount of padding in it. Your neck is going to be safe from a lot more impact. The mesh is just as good as absolute force. No dents that we've ever had. The paint does get scratched off at places, but it is just the paint, not the steel. It does have a full removable liner, so you can take everything out. It's all one piece, all Velcro. You can take it all out to wash it. And overall, it does feel like a very safe mask and feels really good to wear. But this all changes once you put on equipment. Once you put on equipment, there's not enough room for the bib and the neck guard and jacket. I put it on and I'm forced to look up here. If I try to look down, the mask comes off. And this happens with both the medium and large, and obviously small that I've worn. One of our last sparring videos, March, you can see one of the fencers, they keep pulling down their mask. I don't know if, I think some of them made the video, but they keep pulling down the mask because it keeps sliding up. It's now away from my head, and when I look down, my mouth becomes underneath, and it's at my nose. Same thing with the medium. So there just simply is not enough room for the equipment and the mask. There's a couple things I can see that sort of affects that, but I think one of the biggest things is just this bib being so strong and stiff makes it so there's no leeway. It just instantly comes off. And so it would need to be outwards instead of straight down. I think this will get better as it gets used and as the bib gets weaker, but it needs to significantly get bent outwards in order for it to actually be comfortably usable, because it's just really annoying to keep pulling down your mask in sparring every time you want to look straight. When I first got them, they were so stiff and the padding was so stiff that every time I opened my mouth, my cheeks would get pushed into my mouth and I'd bite my cheek. And the sizes do run smaller, even though they say the same as absolute force, roughly. The person who always wears a large and they wear large absolute force, a extra large PBT, and the large absolute force is quite loose on them, that they didn't really like it. The PBT large doesn't even come close to fitting on their head. It does not go on at all. So again, this is where if you have an extra large head, you might just be out of luck with PBT. Their extra large might be significantly bigger, so obviously check the measurements. Yeah, again, this bib part is just, it's frustrating because it feels very nice. It has the mesh quality of absolute force, but it doesn't work with the equipment. It feels really, really comfortable. If I'm not wearing a jacket, I can move everything, I can do whatever I want. It just perfectly fits to my face. But once I'm wearing a jacket and neck guard, it just doesn't work. I would have a hard time wearing this. If you have a jacket that goes over the mask, then this would probably be fine.